Okay, hello. This is a continuation of my summary on my analysis of how the United States is starting a new Cold War with Russia. And currently, we're talking about the Industrial Revolution and how the Industrial Revolution had a huge impact upon making wars profitable from the industrial aspect, from the manufacturing of weapons and munitions aspect. And to better understand the Industrial Revolutions, I'm going through the 8 stages. First stage was machine manufacture of textiles. Second stage is machine use in agriculture. And now this is not the third stage, but it had a significant impact. It was the machine used for mass printing, which resulted in what was called the penny press, cheap newspapers, and this allowed for mass media, the widespread distribution of media to the masses, right? And earliest uses were in patriotic propaganda and communist propaganda, as far as propaganda, right? And both of those had huge impacts on 20th century wars, World War One, World War Two, and the Cold War. All right. So now we're focusing on patriotism. And to begin, I want to state that power is derived from your ability to control resources, of which there are two types: human and material. The uses of material resources was greatly enhanced by machine manufacturing of the Industrial Revolution. All right, allowed us to greatly increase production volume. More profoundly, however, the effective use of material resources depends upon effective utilization of human resources, because it is the creativity, the energies of humans that figure out new and better and more efficient ways of using material resources, the new products. One example is uses of sand. So sand, is used to make what? A sandbox, a playground, all right? A beach, glass, cement. Well, people figure out how to use sand to make silicon chips, to make computers, all right? It's a creativity and energies of people that better utilize our material resources. Effective use of human resources on a micro level, small scale level, business level, depends upon management techniques. And while there is a vast amount of knowledge on management techniques, which is beyond the scope of this lecture, the key lies in maximizing extraction of human abilities, skills, and energies. And these come down to two basic things: providing opportunity for the expression of those talents, maximizing the utilization of the talent that you have in your population by offering the widest opportunity, and then incentive to get motivation. You got to incentivize it. Effective use of human resources on a micro level or on a macro level, depends upon political economic system and social forces. We're going to look at each of these one by one. So for political economic system, I'm just going to cover two types of systems. One is communism, the other is capitalism. Now, communism was a faulty system because it destroyed human resources by killing incentives. Communism was based upon the irrational belief that humans are not self-serving creatures, but rather sacrificing. Nah, bullshit. It was based upon the misguided notion that human productivity could be maximized within a communal setting in which everything would be shared equally. Thus, Marx said, every man according to his needs and every man according to his abilities, meaning every man will only take what he needs and every man will produce to the maximum of his energies and abilities, regardless of what he gets. Now, that was insanely ridiculous. That was ridiculously stupid. That is not human nature. People will exert effort to the extent there is direct reward for it. Otherwise, they're going to say, screw this. Why should I bother? Communism divorced effort from reward, killing incentive/motivation, and thus wasting human talents, abilities, and energies. Capitalism has no such delusions about human nature, but rather touts what is called, quote, enlightened self-interest, which is the understanding that profit-seeking people, given opportunity, will be more productive in ways that provide benefits to others. All right? The overall idea is not to deny the inherent self-serving nature of people, but to instead utilize it within certain limits. Harness self-interest to maximize the expression of human talents, skills, creativity, and energy in positive and productive ways that benefit others. But suppress destructive expressions of self-interest, crime, evil and immoral behavior, any self-serving acts that destroy productivity and or destroy markets, or any other harmful behavior. You know, it can be as simple as not driving while you're drunk, right? Not speeding. Whatever. It's that simple as that. Communism has other glaring problems. Worst of all is atheism, in my opinion. Atheism is an aspect of totalitarianism, which is an excessive and unreasonable restriction of freedoms. I specify excessive and unreasonable because no society is totally free. For example, in the USA, you are not free to do whatever you want because there are laws that limit what you can say or do. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater, for example. That's an old cliche, right? You cannot murder people. However, these laws, these restrictions of freedom are reasonable to the extent they protect people's safety, well-being, equal opportunity, dignity, property, basic human rights, etc. All right? Because communism was such a bad system, the problem was not that we fought it. The problem was in how we fought it. In third world nations, we typically fought communism by installing and propping up dictators who were corrupt and brutal and too often murderous. I mean, these guys were bastards. Right? And a classic rationalization, justification of this was written by Jean Kirkpatrick, right? I can't stand this chick. She wrote a book called Dictatorships and Double Standards, stating, "Oh, it's okay that we install and prop up these dictators because dictators are better than totalitarian systems. They're both bad, right?" She said, "Dictatorships have a better chance of becoming democracies than totalitarian systems." Bullshit. There's only a handful of communist countries left today. They've all flipped to democratic. And even those countries are to some degree democratic. I mean, there's voting in China, although there's a one-party system, right? North Korea is pretty much crap. Vietnam's not that bad. It's communist. The only other communist country is Cuba. That's all that's left. The rest have turned into democracies of some quality. Now, we did support democracies as Americans typically believe. In fact, we did the opposite. We overthrew a number of democracies and installed dictators. Some examples are Iran, Guatemala, Chile. We installed bastards in all three of those situations. Now, overthrowing governments and installing dictators was a fundamental method of colonialism and neocolonialism. Thus, this U.S. method of fighting communism was indistinguishable from imperialism. And this gave credence to Leninist communist ideology, fueling communist movements in the Third World. You know how the commies were all saying, "Oh, you imperialists, you capitalist imperial." Well, hell, we were. Don't give me a shit. That's exactly what the Western world was doing. That's exactly what these old colonial nations doing. France, Britain, Belgium, whatever. We did the same. Now, we didn't practice much colonialism. Maybe Philippine Islands, you could say. But we practiced a whole shitload of neocolonialism. We did. Right? Now, Americans aren't going to believe that. They're going to say, no, America only do good things in the world. USA, USA, USA. Let me wave my flag. We only do good. So, now it gave credence. Basically, we're doing exactly what they said. So it gave credence to Leninist communist ideology, fueling communist movements in the Third World. It also fueled nationalistic passions amongst the indigenous peoples of the Third World. Thus, U.S. anti-communist methods were counterproductive and fundamentally anti-strategic. It made more problems than we had to fight. All right. Now, U.S. support for dictators fed into the communist narrative because that's exactly what the commies were saying. I mean, how stupid is that? This is J.A. Hobson's analysis, which is basically Lenin's analysis. In a nutshell, colonialism. It involved capture of a trading port. Well, you don't settle there. You conquer inland territories. Then you install a dictator or king as a puppet. You control. And then you leverage out of them concessions on resources, on taxes, on trade, whatever, on building railroads. You control the resources of that country. You control the production. It's a form of upstream integration. You got direct control of supply, and you better control price, and then you increase profits, and you better feed your home industries with raw materials. So that helps your economy back home. And then you build interior transportation in the form of steam trains and steamboats. You control the currency, often using your own home currency as theirs, right? The French franc and all the damn West African countries they controlled, right? U.S. dollar throughout the world. Dollar diplomacy. Then you control taxes. With that, you leverage labor. You know, in a lot of these countries, there were more primitive tribal countries, maybe hunter-gatherer countries, very rudimentary, artisans, craftsmen, all right, making simple pots and whatever, all right, and they weren't used to wage labor. They weren't used to a work day. Well, now you force it upon them. You make them pay their taxes. They got to make money in your currency. And then, if you control labor, well, you establish some manufacturing in addition to producing the primary resource. Whatever. Sugar, cotton, iron ore, whatever resource you're producing there. food. So you develop manufacturing because the wages are a lot lower. You got a great cost advantage over there. And then you control the import and distribution markets. And you flood their markets with your excess manufactured goods. All right? But what that does is that kills the local industry, kills local economy. Then you secure trade routes, and you build and control urban infrastructure. You build trains, trolleys, roads, electricity, water, sewage, communications like telegraphs and telephones, banks, right? Each of these are money makers. They're good investments. Every damn day, right? It's cha-ching, 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 right? And you control custom houses in some cases. You control their taxes. Through all this, you maximize the extraction of wealth. Through all this, you squeeze every last drop of wealth out of that country, right? But the effect is you leave them dirt poor. They're in desperate poverty. They're in underdevelopment. They'll never develop economically because business cannot develop because there's no money to support those businesses. You leave them in a state of perpetual dependency. Right? That's exactly what we're doing. I'll give you an example. The U.S. multinational corporation, which was a power elite corporation. I'll show you who the president's board members were. Down here. Right? They controlled all of this. They controlled food production. They controlled land. Right? They controlled labor. They controlled taxes. Trains, trolley, roads, electricity, water, sewage, communications, they controlled it all. Right? This was the playbook. This was a standard neo-colonial playbook. It's no like, oh, that's crazy. That's conspiracy theory. This is the shit they did. Anyone with half a brain can figure this out. It's not complicated. How you do this? They did this in their home countries. USA, we did this in our home country. Western expansion. Don't give me this conspiracy theory crap just because you don't know or understand anything. Now, there are too many gray areas in the way we fought communism. For example, to what extent was it really fighting communism? And to what extent was it protecting multinational corporation investments and exploitation of the economies of weaker third world nations? Right? 2, to what extent was it really fighting communism or using communism as an excuse to overthrow governments that threaten economic independence and threaten those multinational corporation investments? Right? Examples are Guatemala and United Fruit, and Iran, Mozambique, and the nationalization of their oil. Right? Let me give you an example here. I'll give you an example of this guy. Right? From what I read about Arbenz, this dude was rock solid. This dude, in my opinion, was a hero. Multiple times he risked his life to bring democracy to Guatemala. He fought against a dictator, Ubico. Right? Now, they established democracy. But who overthrows democracy? USA. Right? Why? He became president. And he was running down a path of moderate reforms. Total market-based capitalist reforms. Not communist at all. There was no collective bullshit involved in it. But it threatened economic independence from United Fruit control. Alright? He wanted to get sources of capital investment outside of United Fruit and the USA. Oh, that threatens their own development. Oh, that threatens United Fruit control. All right. So USA called him a communist. All right. And the only hard evidence of him associated with the Communist Party, the U.S. manufactured. Right. It's just like Iran. Right. They claim that Mossadegh and his party were in league with the communists. But then in the CIA plan to overthrow them, they say we'll manufacture ties. We'll create false documents tying Mossadegh to the communists. That's been declassified. Right? They manufacture this communist threat bullshit. All right, so how they did it in his case is the USA openly leaked to Arbenz that they're getting ready to overthrow his government. And then the USA supplied aircraft, weapons, so forth, trained pilots, trained soldiers in the use of weapons to overthrow the Guatemalan government. And they stationed them in Honduras, right next to Guatemala, just southeast of Guatemala. All right? And they're waving this in front of his face. We're going to overthrow you. We're going to overthrow you. Now, Guatemala did not have a military of any sorts, right? So Arbenz, out of desperation, tries to buy weapons from Canada. USA moves in, blocks him. Twist Canada's arm, don't sell them weapons. So Arbenz goes to Germany, West Germany. Capitalist country. Tries to buy weapons from them. USA moves in, blocks them. So Arbenz goes to South Africa. Tries to buy weapons from South Africa to defend themselves against a U.S. overthrow of their democracy. U.S. moves in, blocks them. So then he goes to a communist country. He didn't go to the Soviet Union because the USA would scream, "Commie, commie, commie." Right? He went to Czechoslovakia, which is a fringe communist satellite country. But oh, it didn't matter. Commie, commie, commie. Right? Communists are invading Central America now. That's what they said. Next thing that's going to happen, they're going to go through Mexico. Next thing that's going to happen, they're going to come up to Texas. They're going to take the Panama Canal. All right. So that was their only hard evidence of connection with communism. U.S. manufactured it. Oh, but that justified overthrow. No, it was about money. It's about economics. To what extent did our support for corrupt, brutal, murderous dictators validate communist ideology, fueling communist movements and creating conflict? And to what extent did the U.S. military-industrial complex profit from this? To what extent was supporting brutal and corrupt dictators completely anti-strategic? I mean, any military man knows that the key resource you want to control in strategy is not industries, right? It's not resource. More important than that is morale, people, because that's who fights the war. This was totally anti-strategic, getting backbone to their moral cause. Well, how stupid is that? You know that's going to happen. You support these brutal dictators. I mean, it's not rocket science. Any idiot should see that. Not unless you're a patriotic idiot and believe the whatever fucking shit you want to believe. To what extent was the maximum extraction of wealth out of the third world the only means of securing vital resources from those countries, right? And to what extent was it really about maximizing profits for the multinational corporations? All right. I mentioned here China experiment, and what I mean by that is I don't think China's that great of a nation. You know, they got this damn totalitarian. Well, it's not extreme totalitarian, but it's a communist government still, right? But one thing they're doing is they're sensitive to this imperialist crap that they've been spouting, right? So when they invest in other countries from which they want to extract resources, they invest to increase their productivity, right? They invest in their infrastructure, they invest in their education, right? And the idea is, if you increase their productivity, you then ride the back of the productivity. You profit off the productivity in trade relations, right? You invest in them. You gain favored trading partner position, right? So once they get more productive, they start purchasing your goods, all right? And through this process, you recycle currency. So you purchase their primary resource you need, whether it's a certain mineral, all right, or whatever, and you pay for that, but that currency is recycled. That balances trade. That avoids big imbalance in currency values, which is a factor in obstructing trade. Right? All right. Anyways, so I'll leave these as gray areas, open to question, because I know that people will believe what they want to believe based upon no factual knowledge base or understanding whatsoever. They'll know nothing about the real background behind this. All they'll know, they won't even remember any of this. All they'll know is a big wave. Everyone's saying, bullshit, it be bullshit, it be no for real. That's all they'll know. All right. And then they'll get all mad. They get all crazy angry. They're attacking my patriotism. All right. So, unfortunately, the U.S. polity controlled both multinational corporations and the military-industrial complex. So they profited at both ends. They profited by exploiting the resources and economies of the country, and then they profited off the conflict it created. It was a win-win situation for the power elite of this country. They benefit from both ends of this arrangement. Now, here's an example of United Fruit in Central America. Not just Guatemala, other places in Central America. John Foster Dulles, Secretary of State, 1953-59. Him and his brother were behind the Iran coup and the Guatemala coup. A central driving force behind the Guatemala coup. Sole managing partner of Sullivan Cromwell law firm, which was the multinational corporation builder. Acquired concessions from the Guatemala dictator Umbico for United Fruit. He represented United Fruit, their international railways of Central America, their electric board and share, right? All three together, right? These three together ran Guatemala agriculture. And they controlled, this is all United Fruit corporations here. And they controlled 42% of all land, right? They controlled the railway. They controlled electricity utilities. They controlled the telegraph. They controlled the only port, passenger and freight lines, right? International railways of Central America. They controlled taxes. And they controlled labor. I told you that. They controlled everything. That's the playbook. You go in, set up shop with all that, you maximize the extraction of wealth out of that country. Alan Dulles. So he's working for a law firm which supports United Fruit. Allen Dulles, director of CIA, 53 to 61, during the Guatemala coup. Ran the CIA overthrow of the Guatemala democracy, installing dictators who unleashed a 42-year nightmare of abductions, torture, and murder. I mean, it was crazy bad in Guatemala. We created that. We overthrew the democracy, installed these bastard dictators. Allen Dulles was on the board of directors of United Fruit. He was legal counsel to United Fruit. He had large stock holdings in United Fruit. Now, I refer to Cheney, who was Secretary of Defense in the first Gulf War, gave big no-bid contracts to Halliburton. Then he becomes the CEO of Halliburton, which is owned by Dresser Industries, which is owned by Brown Brothers Harriman Bank, right? Which goes back to Harriman, Bush, and all the other connected bonesmen, and how all their businesses are related to the Dulles brothers. Sullivan Cromwell was the law firm for Brown Brothers Harriman Bank. It was a law firm for the Prescott Bush's bank. I think it was called Union Banking Corporation. The Nazi bank. That's a Nazi bank. This financed the Nazis as well during the 1930s and the first year of World War II. Oh, no, actually, up until 1942. Up until November 1942. The first year of our involvement in World War II. They're still supporting the Nazis. How about that for being patriotic? Talk about patriotic. These guys are supporting the Nazis when we're at war with them. That's a fact. Vito Smith, director of the CIA, 1951 to 53. Right? He's the guy that preceded Dulles. So after he leaves, Undersecretary of State, he's made board of directors, president board of directors of United Fruit. All right? Director of CIA, Undersecretary of State. Then becomes director of United Fruit right after that. Right after the coup. General Robert Cutler, National Security Advisor, 53 to 55. Chairman of the board of United Fruit. Don't tell me this is not a power elite company. John Morris Cabot, Assistant Secretary of State for Interior, American Affairs. Large holdings in United Fruit. He's a relative to Henry Cabot Lodge, who was instrumental in shepherding the congressional resolution to get a war with Spain, which started the war with Spain. Relative with Henry Cabot Lodge Jr., who was instrumental in the Diem coup and the Vietnam War. Thomas Dudley Cabot, related to the same guys, another Cabot. Director of International Security Affairs at the State Department. All right? 51 and 53. He's president of United Fruit. Henry Cabot Lodge Jr., who was currently, at that time, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, and later instrumental in the Diem coup as Ambassador to South Vietnam. He was a large stock owner of United Fruit. All right, I'll skip this guy. Oh, I'll say Ed Whitman, United Fruit Public Relations Officer. Right? He played a big role in exaggerating manufacturing Guatemala's ties with the communists. It was bullshit. He was married to Ann Whitman, who was Eisenhower's personal secretary. So these guys all came from the same power club, the Power Elite Club. Now, do you remember how I taught you that the Dulles brothers who were nephews of Robert Lansing, and Robert Lansing was a key guy that got us into World War I. Right? As Secretary of State, the policies he wrote were key in getting us into World War I, especially through our unrestricted trade in war materials with Britain and France, to the exclusion of Germany. That ultimately becoming the cause of war. After 3 years of doing it, the Germans finally said that we got to start sinking American ships, bringing weapons to the Allies. Now, the Dulles brothers were directly tied to the Bonesmen, and were in fact lawyers for Brown Brothers Harriman Bank. And Brown Brothers was the big neo-colonial bank beginning in the 19th century. It merged with Harriman Bank, W.A. Harriman Bank. That was around 1930 it merged. We will examine the U.S. power elite and their control of the military-industrial complex in our discussion of World War I. So this means the U.S. power elite profited off of dictators the USA installed in at least two ways. One, you control concessions and the resources and economy of third world nations. Two, the military industry profits off of the conflict created by supporting by the colonialism and neocolonialism in those countries, installing dictators, controlling the economy, maximizing the extraction of wealth out of there, squeezing every drop of every last penny out of there. Now, it was completely anti-strategic from a military standpoint, but from a power elite standpoint, right? It was great for profit making. It was a win-win situation. You control the economy of the third world nation and profit off of that, and then you profit off the military industry from the conflict it creates. Interim summary. An effective military, political, economic system is one way of controlling human resources on a macro scale. Another macro means of controlling human resources is through social forces as depicted in a diagram below. All right. I showed you how the goal of this is to gain power. You gain power by controlling collective action. All right. To control collective action, you control individual action. But to control that, you got to control perceptions, beliefs, and opinions, which is their cognitive reality, which is the only reality they know. Now, the social forces that affect cognitive reality, right, the perceptions, are the government, the media, entertainment, especially movies and TV, commercial marketing, social media, culture is huge, right? Education is huge. Family, friends are huge, right? Jobs, God and religion should be the most important, but it's typically the least. I know it is for me. Now, one of the social forces is the media. The Industrial Revolution created mass media by applying machine production to printing. Making newspapers cheap enough for the masses to buy. That was a penny press. Lowering price from 6 cents to 1 cent. Making it affordable to the masses. Now, cheap newspapers were followed by affordable magazines, books, paperback novels, electronic means of communication like telegraph, telephone, wire service, radio, television, internet, social media, and social media as a news outlet. Mass media created the capacity for propaganda, right? Major uses of propaganda included, first use was nationalism, patriotism, then communism, then nationalist socialism. That began with the fascists in Italy, right? Then spread to Germany. Then Red Scare propaganda. in the United States, not just McCarthyism. Now, today you got Trumpism and all his baseless bullshit Twitter lies. Crap he just spews out that the ignorant and stupid rednecks believe. All right? I mean, I'm serious. Anyone with half a brain, it's obvious to anyone with half a brain that Trump lies. I mean, everything he says is a lie, almost. How can anyone believe him? I mean, you got to be retarded. Well, that's what the rednecks are. All right. So let's examine why people are such suckers for patriotism. Why are so many Americans, for example, patriotic? I'm willing to bet that 75% of Americans are pretty hardcore patriotic. 25%, most of them don't give a crap. Only a few think, oh, USA's bad, right? But very few. Now, what are the effects of patriotism? It gets the ignorant masses to blindly support U.S. wars. It works all the time. This always works. People wave the flag. Shout USA, USA, USA. With our damn wars. And it makes the ignorant masses feel good about themselves. It feeds their egos. The me feel good is powerful. Now, so one of the things that causes people to be patriotic is a belief in the goodness of our country. All right? Now, people believe that because they have zero knowledge of USA's extreme warmonger history. I mean, people know nothing about all the wars we fight. Right? I say extreme warmonger. I'm saying we might be, in recent history, the number warmonger nation in recent history since our inception in 1776. We fight war after war after war. 2.77 wars every damn year of our existence. Don't tell me we're not a warmonger nation. All right. People have zero knowledge that the vast majority of U.S. wars have been aggressive expansionist wars. They haven't been defensive wars. We've been taking it to someone else, kicking their ass, taking their land, taking their resources, controlling their economy. They have zero knowledge of the many tricky, devious ways we start wars, manipulating the Congress and the public. One of the ways is through manufacturing detonators, manufacturing some incident. We've done it so many damn times. 2, the baseless belief that all our wars are fought for freedom. I tell you what, you ask people, hey, why do we fight our wars? Everyone says for freedom. Nearly everyone. Only a few people say for profit. That's rare, though. The vast majority of people, the knee-jerk response that comes to their mind is, oh, we fight for freedom. Why? Because that's a propaganda that's been fed to them. You could say that only one of our wars has really been fought for freedom. That's a Revolutionary War. In no other war were we threatened with invasion and domination by another nation in our home territory. And another thing that's done is there's always a focus on World War II. An excessive focus on World War II, which is our good war. I admit that was our good war. War we had to fight. All right. Now, another thing that feeds into the belief in the goodness of our country is the belief that we are the best country in terms of democracy, freedom, safety, violence, health, equality. Not bullshit. On the democracy index, we are 25th. I mean, that's not bad. About 200 nations. We're not quite in the top 10, right? But we're not number one by any means. Why are so many people patriotic for USA when Norway, for example, is #1 democracy. Why aren't they all patriotic for Norway? They're the best democracy. Well, it's not about the best. It's about my country. Me, mine. Freedom, we're 44. Why aren't they patriotic for their #1 country? Because that's not my country. Me, mine. Safety, we're in the lower half. We have a violent country. We're like a third world country when it comes to violence. I mean, we're better than Honduras or whatever down there. Some crazy Nicaragua or whatever. Right? But we're not as safe as Sudan. In terms of intentional murders, we're 131st safest down the list. 131st. Oh, that's a great ranking. But USA, USA, USA. Wave the flag. Healthcare, we're 37th. I mean, to me, that's pretty crappy. For an industrialized nation, we're 37th. I mean, we're with Slovenia. Costa Rica. Costa Rica is better than us in healthcare. We're just better than Slovenia. Eastern European nation. Northern Balkans. That's pathetic. So another reason why people have a belief in the goodness of our country is all the propaganda we're fed to. From all the sources. From the government, from the media, from entertainment, from commercial marketing, advertising, from social media, social reality, from your parents. They feed you this crap. From our culture. All the damn symbols in our culture. National symbols. Education, propaganda. Right? People associate patriotism with godliness. It's the opposite. God says don't be patriotic. I'll get to that in a little bit. Right? Christians get all confused. They think patriotism is godly. It is not. It's putting yourself and your country before God. It's attachment itself. All right. So propaganda. You're talking about our histories. The history that's written is crap. So much of our history is bullshit. Myths. Fairy tales. The enemies we make. The heroes we prop up. The detonators that are manufactured are propaganda. All right, now you want to start a war. Best way is with a detonator. To get the people to support the war, a detonator is great. Pearl Harbor, Gulf of Tonkin, right? Whatever. Alamo, whatever bullshit. The Maine. Now, when you make your enemies, you make them into dehumanized caricatures. They're not even human, they're animals. Heroes, you personalize them. One by one, you prop up heroes. Pumping up heroes, pumping up enemies, works all the time. That's related to fear-mongering. Right? Now, another means of propaganda are our cherished symbols, our national symbols. I hate these because they're empty, they're meaningless. What matters is our values, our principles. But you see how I grade out values and principles? Because they're weak. They're ignored. They're violated to do our patriotic bullshit. They're stomped all over. This is what's important. This is what makes us good. This is what makes us great. No, you put up these stupid symbols. Stars and Stripes, National Anthem, 4th of July, fucking fireworks. Woo! Yeah, firecrackers. Man, USA, USA. Bald eagle. Any damn statue or monument. In my opinion, they're empty and hollow. They're just symbols, right? And too often, they go directly against our values and principles. You know, they get you to support our wars. So many of our wars go directly against our values and principles. But let me give you another example. See down here, right, this picture? That's Colin Kaepernick. Most people recognize who he is. He's the guy that started that whole kneel during the national anthem stuff, right? Now, personally, I disagree with him, right? He's basing this in the false belief that there is systemic racial police shooting of black people, right? Now, if you look at the national statistics, that is bullshit. Whites are shot twice as often as blacks by police. But you never see that in the media. They cherry pick only black people. So people get this false idea. Oh, they're killing all the blacks. It's racism. It's racism. You never see a white person get shot. They never show that. It's cherry picked. It's anecdotal bullshit data. It's lies. And per arrest, white people are shot slightly more per arrest than black people. Well, how's that racist? Now, it's true that per capita, blacks get shot more, right? But per arrest, whites get shot more. Why are blacks shot more per capita? Because they're committing far more crime. Black crime is excessive. If you look at the numbers, especially in certain types of crime, in homicides, it's like 53%. In robberies, it's like 54%. They're only 11% of the population. They're committing 5 times their amount of crime, right? It doesn't look at the fact that they're armed. Doesn't look at the fact that they're resisting arrest. Whatever. Now, so I think that's all bullshit. But see, well, if one, it's not his fault, it's Mita's fault. But 2, is he's exercising his right to freedom of speech. Absolutely. Is he saying anything that's going to cause or threaten to cause injury or harm to anyone? No. It may hurt their stupid feelings, right? So he's kneeling during the national anthem. Oh, it hurts their feelings. What's more important, a damn empty symbol or the real values and principles? Why is freedom of speech an important principle? Why did our founding fathers establish it way back then? Was it so that anyone could say any shit they want? No! The reason why they established it is because the first line of defense against tyranny is freedom of speech. The first thing that tyrants, dictators are going to take away is your freedom of speech. Your right to assemble and freedom of speech. And that's why they had the Second Amendment against tyranny. All right. NOPQ. All right. So now another factor that gets people to be suckers for patriotism is me and mine and self. All right. And I'm saying all these are bullshit. Symbols are bullshit. False belief that we're number one. We're not number. False belief in the goodness of our wars are shit. All except for about a half dozen are justifiable. One war was absolutely good. Right? All right. So now, one thing is pride, ego, the self. All right. Why are people proud? Why are people nationalistic for their country and not another's? Because it's their country. So self. All people love their nations and not others. They're patriotic for their nation and not others. Can they all be the best country? No. Right? So why do they love their country? Because it's their country. Why is their country number one? Because it's my country. Not because it really is number one. All right. Don't tell me that's not self. Don't tell me that's not about personal pride. Now, another thing is prosperity. People tend to believe that as their country prospers, they prosper. Or that their opportunities and their standard of living is based upon how well their country does. And that leads support for their country. And that's me and mine. That's self. And that's related to greed. And then it could be insecurity of that prosperity, especially in regards to other competing nations. When there's economic nationalism, colonial competition, all right? Competition economically, right? They're pitting their nation's prosperity against another nation's prosperity. And this is their prosperity. So they want high tariffs and crap like that. They don't realize how that's going to hurt them economically. A lot of people are simple-minded and stupid and don't understand economics. All right? And this economic nationalism leads to us versus them mentality. It leads to in-group versus out-group mentality. And that leads to conflict. So that creates a perceived military threat. And that creates more insecurity. Me, mine. All this feeds into me, mine. Makes people suckers for patriotism. All right? And then fear-mongering. Including bullshit threat analysis. For example, right, the great Soviet threat during the Cold War. Man, everyone was saying that. They built up this Soviet Union to this big, scary boogeyman military threat. I'm saying bullshit. My analysis was so superior. And I turned out to be right. Soviet Union fell on its own. I don't want to get into details of that, right? It will take too long. People won't remember anyways. They won't retain anything. And I just went through the Russian military threat. How it's bullshit. The shit people believe based on nothing. Why? Everyone's saying it. It's social reality. There's a big wave. Masses are suckers for patriotism. Especially Americans. I mean, I think America is a highly patriotic nation. I would guess roughly 75%. 3 out of 4 people in America. And I've asked a lot of people, although it's not a scientific survey, right? I've asked a lot of people over the years about patriotism, right? Very few are not patriotic. Now, why is that? Is it because the USA is a peace-loving nation? Ha, ha, ha. I mean, that's a joke. USA is a super warmonger nation, if you know our history. Now, only a total ignorant idiot can deny that. They know nothing. Oh, but that's like 99.999% of the American population. They'll know nothing about U.S. history. I mean, literally. Perhaps the biggest warmonger nation in recent history. Next to Great Britain. I mean, that's legitimate to say. We're probably the biggest warmonger nation in recent history. What nation has fought more wars than we have? Maybe Great Britain. Why? Because they ruled the damn world for 300 years. They're always fighting wars. Is it because the USA fights wars for freedom? Which is what Americans almost universally believe? I mean, very few people don't believe it. It's like, why do we fight wars? I ask people, a lot of people. Freedom! Oh, bullshit. What war we fought for freedom? Revolutionary War? But that's it. There's no threat of invasion of the U.S. Even in World War II. I'm a military expert. Average average person is a military retard. They think that Germany could invade the U.S. with an amphibious invasion. They have no idea what's required in that. They have no idea how difficult that is. Cross Atlantic. And then sustaining the daily stream of ships to supply that logistically. All right. We were never threatened with invasion and subjugation since the Revolutionary War. All right. Now, we were under the thumb of Great Britain before a revolution. Why should we be their slaves? But after that, no one's threatened us. Mexico's not going to take us. Canada's not going to take us. Only about 6 of our wars were morally justified. The vast majority of U.S. wars have been aggressive, expansionist wars for territory, resources, trade, economics. Is it because we're the best nation in the world? On different things like democracy? No, we're 25th. Why are we not patriotic for the #1 nation? It's not our nation. You're patriotic for your nation. Oh, so it is pride. It is ego. It is self. It is me, mine. Freedom. Is it because we're free? Well, yeah, we're free. We're not great. We're 44th. That's top 25%. All right, that's not bad. We're not #1 by any means. There's 43 ahead of us. Why aren't we patriotic for the #1 nation? Oh, it's not my nation. Me, mine, self. We got the number 37th healthcare system, right? And I'm saying for a modern industrialized nation to be ranked 37 is shit. Oh, but let's wave the flag. USA, USA. Safety from murder. We're 131st down the list. Right? Japan and Singapore, #1. Why aren't people waving the friggin' rising sun? And eating sushi? Oh, because it's not USA. No. We're not even close to being the best. But Americans universally believe that. And why do people believe? Why do people of all nations think their nation is the best? I mean, they can't all be the best, right? Why do they believe it? Because it is self. It is me, me, me. Why are they all patriotic for their country and not some other country? Why are Russians all patriotic for damn Russia? Is Russia better than the USA? Ah, hell no. Right? They're patriotic for damn Russia. Because of self. Is because Americans are exposed to tons of propaganda? Well, we are. You know, all the bullshit histories, myths, legends, enemies, heroes. From school, from childhood. Right? Media. Entertainment industry. That's where you get it. Propaganda from all these sources. School, media, entertainment, industry, movies, culture, holidays, like our 4th of July. From culture, we are exposed to tons of propaganda. But we love to gobble it down as well and believe it because it makes us feel good. Right? So, you know, it's not our fault that we're exposed to all this propaganda, but it is our fault that we gobble it all down. Why do we gobble it all down? Because it makes us feel good. Right? Are people about facts? Hell no, they don't know facts. Are they about intelligent analysis? Hell no, most people aren't capable of intelligent analysis. But they have feel good. They got me feel good. Is it because people have powerful yet totally irrational and emotional attachment to empty symbols, devoid of real substance like our values and principles. Examples of powerful emotional packed USA symbols: stars and stripes flag, right? Man, if someone burns a flag, people are willing to kill that person. Beat the hell out of them for a stupid cloth. National anthem. Take away freedom of speech for a symbol. Are you fucking kidding me? Statue of Liberty, Bald Eagle, Liberty Bell, Uncle Sam, Washington, D.C., and all the damn monuments. Washington Monument, Lincoln Memorial, Jefferson Memorial, all right? Capitol itself, White House, Liberty Hall in Pennsylvania, the Constitution itself as a piece of paper, but not as the values and principles within it. The only value in the Constitution is not in the paper like an artifact. It's in the values and principles written within it. That's what counts. Why don't we do that? Why don't we follow that? No, we want to wave the flag. Is it because of values and principles? Many Americans like to believe that, right? But we violate our values and principles all the time, ignoring them or rationalizing them away. When we violate, say, oh yeah, you know, either we had to do it or, yeah, we're really doing it. They lie. Especially in all the dirty, rapacious wars the USA has fought. You know, but even from day to day, people are corn cutting, idiots, you know, people, right? And every little daily things they do, they lie, they cheat, they corner cut here and there, right? Is it because people identify with their country? To wit, the country is directly associated with themselves, filling them with pride. Absolutely. Now, Oswald Chambers said that pride is a deification of self. When you have pride, you're making yourself into your little God. What does the Bible say about pride? All throughout the Bible. God hates the proud. Right? Pride is rooted in ego, vanity, self-serving, the impulsive id, the me feel good. Pride is rooted directly in self. The whole purpose of our existence on earth, according to the Bible, is to sacrifice self in favor of God. To deny the self. No! Me feel good. Me and mine. Right? Is it because people believe that their country provides their way of life and their standard of living? Yeah. Right? They're committed to their country because their country is going to benefit them. They don't want Russia to benefit. They don't want Germany to benefit. They don't want England to benefit. Right? They want their country to benefit. Because that's going to benefit them. Don't tell me people don't think like that. That's exactly how they think. Exactly why so many people want tariffs. My country against that country. Let's have a trade war. They believe their prosperity and wealth depends upon the wealth and prosperity of their nation. They do well so as long as their nation does well. For example, was that a key reason why the British were so fervently proud and supported of the worldwide empire? British had the greatest empire for about 300 years. Worldwide empire. The sun never set on the British Empire. Damn British people are so damn proud of that. Why? Big part of it, that was the basis of their national wealth. Their empire brought riches to their country. As their empire did, so also did they prosper. As their empire prospered, so also did they prosper. So that's about self. And does this result in economic nationalism? which then leads to us versus them mentality, in group versus out group mentality, which then leads to conflict. The problem with patriotism is the fact that, in the end, the problem with patriotism is the fact that it is a tool for manipulation, exploited by leaders for political purposes and to manipulate populations into wars. But nevertheless, the masses from every nation, especially the USA, still love their patriotism like pigs love their slop. They gobble it down, mostly because it feeds their egos. That narcissistic, ego-stroking desire for me feel good. Me number one. Me the best. Right? My country. To hell with our values and principles. In fact, they stomp all over our values and principles. They put symbols before our principles. How ridiculous is that? Only an ignorant, stupid person would do that. Only a redneck. What does that say for our country? We're a country dominated by rednecks. And patriotism has been fueled by mass media, which was first made possible by machine printing in around the 1830s. However, the media has only one of many types of social forces that gets idios masses all pumped up on patriotism. The government can do it. Media is one, mass media. Entertainment, all these patriotic movies. Mel Gibson shit. Right? Friggin' Clint Eastwood shit. Any other patriotic movie. Patriotic bullshit passed through advertising. Social media. Much more powerful because it's spread through social reality. Right? What everyone is saying. Right? The big stupid waves. No one knows jack shit for facts. No one knows jack shit for intelligent analysis. But they all know the big, stupid, simple wave. And that dominates. That always dominates the mass mind. Right? So just make a big wave. All the idiots will follow it. And then it's passed through cell phones. So cell phone reality is really retard reality. Based on 10-second blurbs. Written on the 4th grade level. Simple idiot crap. But it dominates. Our culture dominates. All the symbols are part of our culture. Education. Our bullshit histories. The crap we learn in school. Family and friends. Families instill patriotism. They raise you to be patriotic. Right? You know what's funny? My family didn't raise us to be patriotic. They weren't anti-patriotic. I was a super patriotic kid when I was a kid. Starting, when it was, about 3rd grade, 2nd grade. How old are you in 2nd, 3rd grade? I became super patriotic. In fact, I got a record player when I was a kid, about 3rd or 4th grade, and the first album I got was an album full of patriotic songs. And I swear I memorized the words for every damn song. I sang with that record every damn day. Right? Made me feel good. Made me proud of my country. But I was a kid. I was a stupid little kid. Me, my country. Me feel good. You know, the problem is, the vast majority of Americans don't grow out of that. I realized what's more important? Morality, values, godliness. No! Not for people. It's me. Their jobs. Their jobs, their prosperity, depend upon the economy as their nation prospers. Right? Now, God, religion? Religion tells you to be patriotic. It's such bullshit. God says the opposite. What does God say? What did he tell Abraham? He said, leave your country, leave your kin, leave your family. Right? Cut those bounds. Trust only me. Love only me. What did Jesus Christ say? You gotta hate your mother, your father, your brother, sister, compared to loving me and God. Right? Both go together. Both say you put your country first like that. Right? That's putting self up there. Why do you love your country? Because you're self. That's anti-God. The biggest thing to overcome in the Bible is self. That's the source of all sin. Why do we sin? Because who do we want to please? Who do we want to serve? Ourself. So who does that make our God? Does it make God our God, or does it make ourself? Now, I admit I'm no better than the average person. I sin all the time. I'm a rat-ass sinner. Why? I put myself first. Now, how I'm different is I'm a rare few who admit that. So too many people will get murderously mad if you attack their patriotism. I tell you what, people are going to get so pissed off of this. And then they're going to mock and laugh. Watch. They'll make jokes about it. Right? They won't remember a single thing I taught here, but they'll laugh and mock it. A joke dominates. Why? Social reality. They won't remember any facts. Right? There'll be a big wave based on a simple joke. Just watch. One joke, a simple, stupid joke is going to dominate. None of the facts I taught here. All of it's going to be dismissed by a joke. That's retard reality. Watch it happen. None of this is going to stick. A single, simple, stupid, mocking joke will dominate. Just watch. Watch all the morons fall for it. You know, I've taught this well over 1,000 times. It works every time. So if you attack their patron, because what do they love more than themselves? People love nothing more than themselves. Number one, they love themselves. It's not love of country. It is love of my country. Plenty of other countries rated higher than the U.S. Why don't you love those countries? We're not the best country. We're the worst country when it comes to wars. But you love your country, and you think that all the wars are for freedom. How delusional is that? It's me, mine, ego, pride, self, vanity, narcissism, excessive love of self. It's all ego stroking bullshit. Ego masturbation. Blow all your firecrackers on the 4th of July. Ego masturbation. Biggest problem, though, it manipulates population into wars. Everyone thinks that all our wars are good patriotic wars. They don't know shit. And that's just the way it is.